Hey, this is VGGuy95. Here I bring you another video showing the lineup of what I watched for winter 2013. Now, with this lineup, I gotta say, for the most part, that it wasn't really that fantastic. I mean, like so once in a while you do find, your really good animes, but overall this season there wasn't really that much. But there were a few, however, that I thought were probably some of the better animes I've seen within quite a while. So that's good. So let's just begin. Okay. So first, and again, just telling you before, this is all not going to be scripted at all. There's just recommendations, no review, so no scores. However, if you do want to see scores, because if you're that kind of person, then you can just go to my anime list account and you can just look through my list, probably below in the description. So okay, so I'm just going through alphabetical order. So I'm starting off with Oi Sekai no Chuunshin Day. Sorry if I butcher any of these names. Also known as World War Blue. So I'm just giving you the basic synopsis because it's been a while since I watched this. Plus, it's basically just only an OVA-ish type series. It showed up on TV for a few times, but for the most, since it's only 3 episodes long, and currently I've only watched 2. But to be honest, I'm kind of tired of it. I'm just going to give you a basic synopsis. So in the Segwa Kingdom, there's been an all-out war between them and Nintendo. And basically that's it, with just the main character, Gear, basically trying to figure out a way in order to end the war. Now, this anime is I thought it kind of interesting the very first time I wanted to watch this, because it's supposed to be a parody of the war between Nintendo and Sega. Well, supposed to be anyway. But I kind of knew from the start of this thing that this wasn't going to be a very good show, and my God, it is probably one of the crappiest shows I've seen in a while. Next to another show that I've watched this season. But anyway, back on to World War Blue. Okay, so the main problem with the show is mostly due to the almost little character development in any of the characters, mostly because they're all just lazy, stale, one-dimensional characters, like Tengelov, which is supposed to be, I believe, a parody of Tetris, is just basically just a pervert that likes thinking about sticking things into holes. Gear is being the generic idiot person that being a parody of Sonic, is really fast. Now, just give me a minute because I do not know. It's supposed to be a parody of a character from Phantasy Star 2. Never played it, sorry. And basically all it is just basically these groups of characters, plus also one character that has giant jugs, which is apparently a parody of a character named Opa Opa. Again, like I said, these could be games that are only in Japan, or I'm just ignorant for this kind of thing, because for video games, I haven't really started playing like seriously gaming. Although I had a Super Nintendo, I never had a Genesis, and I only seriously started getting into gaming when I got the original Xbox. And also another thing for the show was that there's a lot of fan service. So that kind of dissed me off a little bit, because even though fan service, because I'm a guy, so every once in a while fan service is okay. But when you overdo it, it doesn't work anymore, because when you keep on seeing more and more fan service, you kind of just get numb towards the thing, and it doesn't work. But okay, so basically, one of my overall thoughts on the show: skip it. Just skip this. So anyway, next show, it's Boku wa Tomodachi ga Sukinai next. Now this is going to be the second season of a show from before. So you probably should need to watch the first season in order to actually watch this. So I'll probably just get basically a basic synopsis of probably the first season. So the English name, just telling you, is also I don't have many friends. which basically kind of explains the entire show in a nutshell. So, okay, let me just get back to the first season. Okay, so basic synopsis: the main character Hasegawa Kotoura, which has tried. Okay, well, let me just go back. Yeah, you can see here, not scripted. But anyway, Hasegawa Kotoura has transferred schools, and he's having a hard time making friends. It doesn't help that his blonde hair tends to make people think he's a delinquent. Like, you know, prejudiced Japanese people, but you know. One day, he runs into a bad-tender, solitary classmate named Yozora, who, while she's talking to her imaginary friend Tomo. You know, the usual. Realizing that neither of them have any actual friends, they decide the best way to alter the situation is to form a club and start recruiting, also known as the Neighbors Club. And so when the Neighbors Club is formed, a club specifically designed for people who don't have many friends, although secretly it's just basically them just as a secret way for them to goof off. But as other lonely classmates slowly join their little club, they'll try to learn how to build friendships through cooking, playing games, other group activities, and whatnot. But this group of relationship challenge misfits really able to get along, and that is the ultimate question, because this show is really funny. I'll just give you that. Like, okay, one thing I really like about this show was that the characters, for the most part, do act like a sort of, well, I mean, they still follow the usual anime tropes. They do still, however, have this realistic enough mindset. Like, for example, Kotoura. He's basically surrounded by all these girls, and while he does have the usual, like at least with the first season, where he's like oblivious to them, all having basically the equivalent of almost crushes on him. It's not. By the way, it's not a harem, but it goes up to the point later on where when he does found out about things, it acts more realistically how he should act to this sort of stuff. And not just be always just the nice guy, which I like. Now, a couple of the other characters, Senna, the big boob blonde, she's freaking hilarious. Especially with basically her comedy act with Yozora, which is like in the first season she's long haired, but in the second season she's short hair. But Yozora basically acts like the sadist type character that goes with basically with Senna's kind of also basically gullible attitude towards what Yozora says, which adds to the humor a lot. And then there's just moments like, just because I'm basically supposed to be talking about the second season, but because I watched this first season a while ago, but with the second season, one specific scene, entire episode where basically they go to an amusement park is probably one of the funniest episodes I've seen in a while. Because there's this one character, Rika, which is the genius scientist of the group, and while they're on a roller coaster, things happen that are just amazing. I'll probably put the clip down below if you really want to see it, but if you haven't seen the first season, it's probably kind of a little bit of a spoiler, mostly because you should watch the show, at least the first season. Then, if you like it, watch the second season, because this is a good show to watch. Alright, so next show is Jijabu, or also known most commonly as Good Jabu. And basically it's your slice of life of this anime season. So the synopsis is that Shinomiya Kyoya is forced to become a new member of Good Jabu, an unidentified club that dwells with the room of a former building of a certain school. And basically, just drifting off on the actual synopsis, basically all they really do is just read manga and eat snacks. So yeah, basically it's your usual slice of life setting where basically nothing really happens, but you watch it anyway because it's kind of funny. And to me, I'll just tell you basically blunt that this show is not bad at all. I mean, it does have its funny moments, but you're not going to really see anything that's really like too special. Like, it's your usual, you know, the one character that's kind of ditzy, and then you have the lolly character, and then you have the character that acts like an animal, so in this case it's a cat. And then you have the smart one. And then you just have the kind of oblivious male character that's just in the middle of all this. But there are a few moments, like, for example, the running gag about how the maid twirl is kind of funny. Plus also the one instant later on where a certain character cross-dresses. Mostly because it kind of reminds me of, if you ever watched Working, that anime, also known as, I believe in English it's called Wagnaria due to some sort of copyright issue. And how a certain character also cross-dresses. Yeah, those are fun times. Even though it's not as good in that as Wagner or Working, but it still is quite funny because you see trap characters, and trap characters are funny. Yeah, I have nothing really much else to say for this anime other than give it a watch if you want to. I mean, like, you gotta be really into this kind of, like, you know, the slice of life type thing. Plus, also you have to realize that since because I believe that the producer, Dogakobo, is kind of a new studio. Well, okay, not new, but they don't really do that many, like, good ones. So you just need to be careful with the, like, you know, don't get picky on the animation stuff, because even though it does look clean, it's not very, like, you know, super high-tech with the animation. Just, you know, simple animation is just talking and whatnot. So you gotta get used to that. But anyway, next show. Kotoura-san. Now, this show is kind of interesting for me, because I wasn't really expecting much of this show, because it kind of just looked like also a kind of generic slice of life, maybe romance, high school drama. But it's a little bit more than that. Okay, so the synopsis is, it says that it's a school of comedy, but I'm not entirely sure. And it's about a girl named Kotoura Haruka, who is a 15-year-old girl who has ESP. And she's been suffering from troubles caused by her mind-reading ability, which caused kind of issues in the past. So she moves to a new high school, but tries to keep her ESP powers a secret from classmates, until soon when she transfers into the school. A boy, which is going to be the main love interest, Manabe Yoshihisa, learns about her ESP powers and then just accepts her ability, and then basically they try to make more friends. And then eventually they'll join this thing, basically the ESP club. And you can either think of this as a good or a bad thing, because I've seen a couple of reviews on my anime list that think it's good because it's shocking, but it's kind of bad at the same time because it kind of makes it, the best word to describe, I guess, is bipolar, is that this show gets really dark and then really happy, like, minutes after the point where it gets really dark. Like, just watch episode 1 and you'll basically know what I mean. Where, simply with episode 1, I'll basically just say a couple things. Where, due to her ESP powers, her parents all leave her, and basically tells her how, the mom tells Kotoura how she wishes that she was never born, which is just dark, evil, and it works for me. Because that made me, because how dark this show gets, and then how it just flips 180 into like this really, and also it's really funny, the show, because like there's one scene where later on where there's one character named Mortani, which is at first is going to be the bully, but then eventually becomes part of the group, and she's bad at cooking. And they made a joke of basically how her cooking is basically the equivalent of drugs, which is probably the funniest moment in the entire show. But I digress. Now back with the bipolar-ish thing with the show. For me, it really worked because I love dark shows. Like, because some of my favorite shows that I've ever watched are Welcome to the NHK, Higurashi. Kind of a guilty pleasure for me, but School Days a little bit. And those kind of shows are just famous for being like these dark, twisted, fucked up shows. So that's why it worked for me. But it could work for, but it may not work for everyone. Oh yeah, also another great example because it's my favorite anime and I keep needing to digress like this. Madoka Magica is amazing. But anyway, well, back to topic. Kotoura-san. Give it a try. It may not work for everyone, but it's a good shot. Okay, just try the show. If you don't like it, you can stop probably at episode 3. It's fine. Moving on, sorry. I digressed from before. So, next anime, which I talked about last time in my previous video, was Little Busters. And I'm not entirely finished with the series because there's still one more episode left, but it's not really important enough in order to make my judgment on the show because the anime is... I'm feeling it's going to definitely have another season because I've played enough of the visual novel to know when it's supposed to end, and it's definitely not supposed to end here. So, just to reiterate, it's about a boy named Noiriki, and how basically he joins this group as a child called the Little Busters, which are basically just a group of friends that basically try to like help the community by like saving a person from bees and whatnot. And then basically eventually later on as they become high schoolers, and with their main leader, let me just try to remember, what was his name? Damn, I'm terrible. Kyosuke. Okay. So Kyosuke says because it's his final year at high school, he wants to try something different. So he wants the Little Busters to assemble a baseball team. And basically, Riki is going to be the recruiter of the baseball team, and they're going to be recruiting all these girls that are going to be basically like the basic defense and offensive positions for baseball. And then since because this is based on a visual novel, every single character will have an arc. And basically where Riki has to help with their problems. Well, I'm telling you basically from the anime's point of view. The visual novel is kind of different from what happens in the anime. But because how the visual novel is designed, it's supposed to be a multi-choice type visual novel where basically there's multiple paths. But because Little Busters, the anime, it doesn't work like that, it needs to make it so that it's all one path. So therefore there's none of the love stuff, which I don't really mind too much from the show. However, there are a few problems with it. For one, so it's because it's made by JC Staff and Warner Brothers, which, to be honest, they haven't really made anything that great. So, the animation, like usually I don't really gripe with animation, but this one it's kind of apparent where it's very stiff. There's not really a lot of things happening. Plus also, in order to make up for that, I guess due to the production costs and whatnot. And this one's actually a pretty big gripe, is that the main character, Riki, monologues way too much, in my opinion. Like, you just, like, stay there for, like, about, 3 to 4 minutes, just Riki, just talking about what he's thinking about, what's going on. Because there's this thing, like, pretty quickly in the beginning of the series where he finds a piece of paper on a tail of a cat that says that you don't want to know the secret of the world. And he just thinks for about, like 4 minutes just about that one thing, where technically us, since because it's supposed to be a mystery, we're supposed to be thinking it ourselves, not the character does not need to force feed us their own ideas. Like, it's okay for just give me a minute, I just need to think for a second. Okay. So it's okay for the main characters in order to, like, monologue a little bit. It's fine, because every single show does that. But you can't have it so that it monologues for, like, nearly a quarter of the episode. But there are some good points with the show. I mean, like all the characters still keep basically most of their personalities from the visual novel. The art design is, even though again it's low budget, it's pretty good. And even though the openings and endings are basically just rehashes from the visual novel, I think the opening is slightly different, but it's very hard to notice. But it's still pretty decent. So overall, give it a try, but I didn't think it was really that great overall. Mostly because of the monologues being a main problem, plus also the animation being meh. Which, again, like I said, doesn't affect judgment too much, but if it's very noticeable, it kind of does. So yeah, that's my thought on Little Busters. Now, next anime, Maoyuu, Yuusha, also just known as Maou, because that's a lot shorter. And this show actually piqued my interest a little bit, mostly because this was made by ARMS, which I believe made, what was that? Elfen Lied or Elfen Lied, yes. And if you look at their anime list, they also like hentai, but that's beside the point. But I just found it interesting that, you know, after Elfen Lied, they haven't really been doing like shows that are good for their reputation, and now they're going back. So I think that that shows some potential in their what they're working with. And the best way to describe this show is that if you watched I think it's called Spice and Wolf. It's a show that's been a while ago that's a lot of people like. I've never watched it though. Sorry, but eventually I do want to give it a shot. And because it's kind of one of those shows that you have to like this sort of thing in order to enjoy it, because even though it looks like from like all the images and whatnot that it's going to be like an action anime, it's clearly not. It's very slow. It's all about like the politics and the economics of how to basically build a nation. It's all about like trying to get peace treaties, all that kind of jazz. There's a couple of action scenes in the show, but you can't. That's not the main focus of this entire show, so you really have to get used to it. So, well, let me get into the synopsis finally. So, it's about a hero that finally arrives at the at the castle of basically hell, because he wants to basically defeat the demon king, or the Maou, in order to basically stop the demons from invading the human world. But basically learns that the war that the demons have brought upon the humans have killed thousands and put more in misery. However, it got up to a point where the war is necessary for their economy. And so because of that, the Demon King, which is a chick, by the way, in the show, with giant boobs and whatnot, is trying to make an agreement with the hero, which he agrees, to find a way to stop the violence and to help both the demon world and the human world prosper and make them live in peace and, you know, the utopia shebang. And like I said before, this show is definitely not for everyone. It's really slow. You have to enjoy politics up to a point, and also like know some basic economic terms on how the world works, like basic inflation, deflation, that sort of idea, like overbuying items, that stuff. But if you enjoy that stuff, which I did a little bit for the most part, plus also you have to enjoy romance animes a lot, which I don't really watch too much of, but I watch up to a point where I kind of like it. So overall, I enjoyed the show, but I definitely see why certain people would not like this show. So yeah. And since because I talked a lot in this video, let me just probably split this to a second part. Yeah, my throat's really hurting right now. Alright, so this is VG Guy at the moment. Sign off.